I introduce to you all the incomparable Jeffrey Wright.
Wow. Thank you, Maxwell. That was really moving. It's really wonderful to be here with you this evening. When Tommy asked me last year about attending this dinner, in my head I pictured a few people gathered in a hotel dining room somewhere in town. Modest get-together, a few remarks, fish or chicken, sir? Glass of wine maybe, and a good night. I was wrong. I did not picture this. That would have been nice, but this is stunning. I just returned a few days ago from Latvia, where I was working on a film based on a book called The Wizard of the Kremlin. I highly recommend that read if you have not read it. The story it tells is relevant directly and indirectly to what is taking place now in our country. If you don't read the book, then you can see the movie. Should be out maybe later this year. Actor plugging his work right out of the gate. So I literally returned a couple of days ago, but as was stated, for those of you who don't know, but Maxwell told you, I grew up here in Washington, proudly in Southeast Washington. Give it up for Southeast. Come on. Ward 7, that was my home. But also, I grew up here on these grounds, on this close. Starting in kindergarten, I attended a tiny private school in Southeast, the Naylor Road School. It's kind of a holdover. You know Naylor Road School? That's amazing. It was kind of a holdover from the days prior to MLK's assassination and the subsequent riots in which many parts of Southeast were predominantly middle-class white. And this school was a wonderful, tiny, tiny place. When I came here to St. Albans, they were surprised that I spoke very little German and a little bit more French. But it had been run by a woman named Vera Klaus, who had escaped Nazi Germany prior to the war and had come to rule that school with an iron fist. But it, like the Bishop Walker School, was in Ward 8. But then I entered St. Albans in A form, one of 3 boys admitted to class that year, 1976. So this, too, was and is home. It's so good to be home. It's like a family reunion. That said, I've lived in New York now for almost 40 years, and I'm not certain that I've attended an event in this magnificent building since graduating St. Albans in 1983. So it was with a sense of nostalgic appreciation for this place and a quiet pride that I took in Bishop Buddy's recent homily during the National Prayer Service. I must use this moment to express my thanks to you for early, compassionate leadership and for shining necessary and forceful light upon certain of the challenges we're all facing as we enter this uncertain, shadowy, and divergent phase in the life of our nation. Thank you so much. And my thanks, of course, to the Walker family, including Willie Walker, distant cousin. First, for the decades of friendship and for the invitation to be here tonight in support of the Bishop John T. Walker School. When I reflect on Bishop Walker, what comes to mind immediately are his eyes, from which radiated a serene kind of stained glass light, expressive of his wisdom and his purposefulness, his kindness and his grace. He was such a comforting presence on this close, particularly for a boy like me who made his way to this high ground every morning across the city on a crosstown bus from Southeast. I can see him quite clearly right now. And I feel his presence tonight through this gathering in support and celebration of the school founded in his memory. And I see Skip Grant here as well tonight. His, too, was a comforting presence on this close for many of us. Comforting in a type of intimidating way. Intimidating, but always, always supportive and uplifting. It's wonderful to see you tonight, Mr. Grant. It's clear that the stated mission of the Bishop Walker School to alter the educational and social trajectories of children from historically underserved communities and prepare them for leadership and service inside their communities and beyond has never, since the school's founding, been more urgent and critical than it is right now. Institutional thinking, such as this, is under coordinated attack at this moment, led by what is known to be the highest office in the land, and judged by the cynical to be discriminatory and racist. Nonetheless, the need for this approach is great, particularly in Southeast Washington, many parts of which are indeed underserved and have been for decades. Many of the voices that mock and disparage the social ills that too often beset communities like those in some parts of Southeast are also the same voices objecting to the expansion of educational opportunity for the children of those same communities. It's an odd dynamic. The Bishop Walker School is purpose-built to enable its students to succeed despite the challenges presented by their backgrounds and challenges presented by those who would rather those students remain on the margins of society. But this is not the first time in America, of course, that there have been coordinated efforts to undermine the education of black children. For instance, if I may, and I had not been aware of this incident, I'm embarrassed to admit, until I stumbled across it very recently. In March of 1835, a racially integrated co-ed school, the first of its kind in America, was established and built by abolitionists in Canaan, New Hampshire. 28 white and 17 black students enrolled that first year, 1835. The Noyes Academy, N-O-Y-E-S, opened the door to educational opportunity for black youth which had never before been offered them. Within 5 months, in August of 1835, the newly erected building that was the Noyes Academy was lifted off of its foundation by a team of 300 or so local white men who did not approve of its being there, along with a team of 100 or so oxen, and then dragged a mile through the town, down the road, to be destroyed. Black students who'd attended the school were driven out of town by cannon fire and gunshot. Historical records, local diaries state that all was undertaken in the interest of the town, the honor of the state, and the good of the whole community, both black and white. many of the most respectable and wealthy farmers of this and adjacent towns rendered their assistance on this occasion. The work was commenced and carried away with very little noise considering the number engaged until the building was safely landed on the common near the Baptist Meeting House where it stands, the monument of the folly of those living spirits who are struggling to destroy what our fathers have gained. Gives a new meaning to It Takes a Village. The Noise Academy was never rebuilt. Nonetheless, some of the black youth who'd attended, like Henry Highland Garnet, Alexander Crummell, went on to become respected scholars and significant figures in the abolitionist movement. Now, I share this not to scare anyone or to elicit guilt of any kind, but simply to retell the history so that what is past in America is known. The only way to repeat this tragic history is either to ignore it or to believe via some perverse and deranged logic that it was justified. Regardless, we've seen attacks before in the United States on expanded educational opportunity for young people like those attending the Bishop Walker School. But those young people are still here. I was one of them. I'm still here. And the Bishop Walker School, the Bishop John Walker School, is here now to carry on in the noble and worthy tradition of the original founders of the Noise Academy. St. Albans is of that tradition as well. I did notice in the school's progress report that at least one recent graduate of the Walker School went on to attend Landon. I suppose that's a good thing. I'm not certain. But the future success of the boys of the Bishop John T. Walker School, underpinned by the concrete foundation of educational and spiritual guidance they receive at the school, will be beneficial not only to them, but is in the interest of the town, the honor of the city, and the good of the whole community, both black and white, and of this country. So long as they all don't become actors. Thank you.